Oh, you got all right, my friends. I have had a lovely little angel friend of mine help me with getting this up and running. So I'm gonna put this link into the old chat real fast, and we're gonna get going. So my apologies, I missed kind of a simple step. That never happens. That's not embarrassing at all. But sincerely, you guys, thank you for your patience. I'm gonna put this back in the last thing. So hang on one second. We're gonna get going here. Wait for it. Wait for it. Let me get to the link here, and then we're gonna get cracking. Link to new stream. Okay. All right, my friends. That was really funny. um, all right. So if you can hear me, which you hopefully should be able to hear me now, I'm gonna get going. We're running late, so I'm gonna try and get this done in a timely fashion, but also to make sure we can cover everything I wanted to cover. So let's go like this, and let me know if you can see this okay. Hopefully you can see this. There we go. Aha! There we go. Oh, Sally jumped in and helped me, you guys. I just want a huge thank you to Sally. I owe her big now. She is a rock star. We're so willing to pitch in. This is one reason why I love the enablement community is because of people like Sally. So I just want to say a huge shout out to you. Thank you so much. All right, so let's get cracking. This, my friends, we can do if you wanted to, but because of time, I'm going to zip right through this just to make sure we're good. So I'm going to skip that part. So here's an agenda for today's 5 main things. The first few parts are not going to take very long, but I want to make sure you know kind of where we're going. So I want to talk about the main framework and about me a little bit. Very quickly go over the summary of big AI tools. So obviously we're going to talk about ChatGPT, but there's 2 other alternatives. Want to make sure you are aware of. Want to talk about really fast the 4 P's of ChatGPT, and then we go into the actual 5 threads. I'm going to show you some examples, and I will share with you inside the chat like what these are, and we can share with them afterwards as well. And then lastly, a huge announcement, but the GTM AI Academy, which I'm happy to talk about in a bit. And Sally, again, you are awesome. All right, so here's the framework. My opinion is, especially as enablement people, that we are here and our role exists to create business impact. However you want to measure that is up to you. But for me, it's about how do we actually create impact, and I want to focus on that versus just learning shiny new tools, which could happen. So that's the main framework. So I like showing the slides because I feel like it's important to talk about. Which is whether you're a new person coming into the world and you're very comfortable with technology, and or if you are mid to late career and you're not still learning all this stuff. To me, there's value in both, mostly because of people being able to apply, younger people being able to understand the technology faster than us olders, and then the mid late people understand the real problems. But we all end up in the same place, which is solving real business problems. So I want to talk a little about me real fast. So on the left picture, I posted this the other day. This is a AI modeling of me. I tried to get myself to be bald, and this particular AI model would just not give me my bald self. So this is the weird version that I have of me on the left. On the right is an actual picture of me. But I am Jonathan Carford. A lot of people have a hard time saying my name. It's pronounced Carford. I know it looks like it should be Kavarfordit, but it's not. A nickname I was given several years ago was Coach K, mostly because my last name is hard to spell and say, or at least people think so. And I'm currently the head of GTM revenue enablement and product marketing at Symmetric. I've been enablement for 10 plus years with 3 startups. I've worked with a couple of Fortune 500 companies as far as training is concerned or enablement. I was introduced to AI 4 years ago, and I really deep dove. One of those things in 2021 because the company I was with bought an AI platform to use with their own platform, and I when they acquired that company, I worked with the team a lot to enable the team on how to learn about it, and I just learned and was blown away by how powerful AI could be. And then lastly, I mean, on a personal note, I'm a proud dad of very cute, rambunctious, crazy twins, which is a lot of fun. Keeps me up. Okay, so let's keep it rocking here. Three big tools. So I'm gonna show you a slide. Originally on this tool, I'm using the Menti. I wanted to use it for like polling, that kind of stuff. We're gonna be doing some more polling if you want to join in. It's menti.com with that code, or you can join with a QR code on your phone if you would like to, which we'll do some polling here in a second. So these are the big three. So most people know about ChatGPT. Or I should say most have heard about Google Bard. Some have not heard about Claude. I wanted to talk about some of the options. You can use what I'm going to show you with any of them, but you'll get better results with ChatGPT. And I want to show you why. So with Claude, Bard, and ChatGPT, they all have their strengths. Obviously, the one with Claude is that you can put in thousands of words as an input to Claude, and it can summarize, it can give you understanding around it, it can do a lot of cool stuff with it. And then it usually has been known to have a reduced bias as far as its approach. I don't know if that's the right word or not. And then Google Bard obviously is connected to Google, so it's a really nice tool to use if you want to try and create some table formats and have it exported to Google Sheets if you're a Google Shop person. And then lastly is ChatGPT. There's obviously free versions of all these, and then ChatGPT has the 4.0 with $20 a month. And that just hopefully gives you an idea around what has web browsing, what does not. The why we're using ChatGPT right now for me is because of the parameters or the information it was trained on, which is 175 billion. I could get into the details with that, but I'm not going to. Just means that there's a ton of information it has access to, from books to the internet to Reddit to all the stuff that got trained on to understand human language, and usually has more human-like response, reasoning, and creativity. So hopefully just an FYI. I did see a question come up. Let me see if I can see what that is. I don't know if someone can put that. If you have a question, whoever that was, put it in the comments on LinkedIn. I'd love to see it. All right, so moving on. So for today, we're going to be using, in general, I should say, 3.5, the ChatGPT 3.5 we use usually because of research and of speed. And then for 4 is usually because of reasoning. Obviously, the speed comes down, but the conciseness and reasoning ability is kind of unparalleled as far as AI tools are concerned right now. You can always get the plus account. You do not have to have that for today. Today, I'm going to be working with everything that is in 3.5. So please know, if you have signed up with a free account, it will work all just fine with that. One concept I wanted to talk about was with these specifically, the more you're able to, what's the word? The more you're able to keep digging. A lot of people are almost to gold, and then they when they're prompting or using ChatGPT, then they give up because the output they're getting isn't the result they wanted. And my suggestion would be is, if you're not getting the output that you wanted, it's probably has more to do with the input versus the output itself, or the tool. 90% of the time, 85-90% of the time, I think it's probably more of what you're putting in versus the tool itself. So just FYI. Give me a comment on LinkedIn. Let me know if you guys can still hear me. I'm just a little freaked out now that technology may not work with me again, or I should say I'm not working with technology. All right, so here's the 4 Ps. Comes down to prompts, protocols, programs, and plugins. This is for ChatGPT specifically. So prompting, what most people know is you have something like this: hey, ChatGPT, can you insert this problem and help me solve it? That's how most people do it. What we're going to do is called prompt threads today, and which we'll get into in a second. So next up is protocols and programs. Just to define that for you, protocols, this is on the left side, a really, really long prompt, which I call a protocol, which gives you a standardized output for every input you put in, and can kind of streamline a lot of stuff in that particular ChatGPT thread. Programs is the same thing, really long prompt, but it's all about a live dialogue and ongoing training. It's kind of like creating your own coach, so to speak, inside of ChatGPT that responds in a certain way in specific parameters. So it's really, really cool to play around with this kind of stuff and give you some really cool output. Again, these are really long. We're not going to get into that today because we don't have time, but just know that these exist and they're a lot of fun to play with. And then lastly is plugins. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of plugins in ChatGPT in the 4.0 right now. All of them give you some sort of extra ability to do stuff. There's a lot of free ones, but there's also a lot of paid ones. So be careful with plugins, because some actually make you pay. But there's a lot of free ones that are really, really powerful to take things to the next level. Okay, so today we'll be using 3.5 for the 5 threads. So again, please know, if you're not using 4.0, it's because I don't know who's using what. I try to make sure I could have everyone use this. So if you haven't signed up for ChatGPT, go in right now and do it. And then you can come back here and we'll make sure we get you ready to go. So threads is, again, a series of prompts that lead to a specific result. That's what we're doing today. is the 5 threads. And think of each thread as a resident expert. So, like, for example, if you could think of your favorite book author on whatever sales subject you want to talk about, you could literally have a thread that is named that book author AI. Because you could have the ChatGPT trained on that particular person and go into that thread anytime you wanted to and say, hey, tell me about this methodology applied to my situation and give you some really cool results. So these are just some of my names in here. But I want to make sure we're all kind of in the same place before we kind of dive in. So now let's get into the 5 threads. Ding! So I would love to have some participation if you don't mind. If you go to menti.com, or again, let's go back one. If you have your phone, click on this QR code and go there. I'm going to give it a second, or go to menti.com. I'm going to do a quick poll so I know where I should start, and we'll go from there. So if you don't mind logging in, I know I appreciate you guys, or girls, people, individuals, logging into this so we could actually have this have this event. So yeah, get in here real fast. Make sure I see who's all getting in here if you don't mind. I have 2 people in here. If you give it a second, that's fine. 3, we'll get more people coming. More people are coming. Wait for it. Wait for it. And I will adhere myself to the results of this thing. This poll, I should say poll. Again, thank you for your patience, people. You're very, very kind to be patient with me through the technology stuff. But here we go. So if you haven't, you have your phone out, scan the QR code, and or on your laptop or computer, go to menti.com, put in the code, and then voila, let's go. So which one would you like? You should be able to, on your phone or menti.com, put in which one you want to start with, and that is where I will begin, is which one of these 5 threads we want to focus on. So hopefully you can see this okay. And we'll get, ooh, look at that. Cool. Okay, well, we're going to start where I thought we were going to start, which is content. Oh, wait, sharing knowledge. Wait, we have a competitor. Wait for it. Okay, live results, people. Live results. Here we are. Boom. All right, I think. Wait, sharing knowledge. Wait a second. We may have a competitor. We may have a contender. Sorry about that. I'm gonna make sure I hop in here so I can put some notes in here. Okay. Okay, we have some votes, so I'm gonna go with. I wasn't gonna start with this one, but I think because of the poll, I will adhere myself to the results of the poll. We are gonna go into sharing knowledge. So I'm going to share. Hang on a second. Let's see if I can do this correctly. Okay, hang on a second, guys. I'm gonna make sure I'm going to present the right one, because again, I might I might mess up, and I don't want to do that again today. So here we go. Okay. So let's go into the threads. I am going to give me 2 seconds, and I'm going to send to you. You wanted sharing knowledge. So hang on a second. These are kind of long. In fact, this one is one of the longer ones, but hopefully this will make sense as we go. Okay. So in the comments, I'm going to put in a really long comment. Okay, let me know. I put that in the okay, it just show up. Okay, good. I put in a really long prompt in the comments. That is how you do it. So please know you're not supposed to put in all the prompts at once. You're supposed to put them obviously one at a time. And then I'm going to show you what I've done on my side. So knowledge, there we go. I'm going to show up to the front here. Okay. So here is the very first one. Hopefully you can see this okay. And I'm going to just confirm everyone can see this, because I want to make sure I'm not missing it. But what we're trying to do is there's a couple different ways to do prompts. This one I was actually going to do later so I could show you what I'm doing. But the point is that it's giving a little context before we actually do the prompt itself. So here's what we're doing, is kind of giving some basic details around what we're trying to accomplish. And then I give some information about my company, which I actually included that in your original prompt. And then it says, okay, now I understand who we're talking about. We have some context. Now what's next? So prompt number, I'm going to go with this real fast. Prompt number 3, let's dive in. What AI drive methods or identify the key areas of knowledge sharing is attainable? So then they give me a output of different things I could look at for my specific use case. One key thing, I would recommend putting in your information here. So this is mine, obviously. I put in just a paragraph about who my company is, and then it can kind of get specific with results. So once you put in your prompt 2, and you get your results. Then you put in prompt 3 based on the identified gaps. Which specific topics should we focus on for knowledge sharing sessions? And then it gives you it gave me what is specific for me. So banking industry, PSPs, retail marketplaces. This gives me some specifics to work through based on, what it thinks the results are. Next up from there is to get the next thing, which is what are the best tools or platforms to facilitate this? And then obviously I have not shared with it my tech stack, so it's kind of guessing on what we have. But there's not there's several options out there, but there's usually the ones most teams use. So it says, okay, you have this, you have this. I also asked it to in your same prompt, you should have the same thing I did, to put down, please include a step-by-step guide on how to use ChatGPT for knowledge and sharing across our team. So these are all meant to say, okay, if you have these tools, what do you do? And if you're only using ChatGPT, how do you use that? I'm going to stop right here, make sure everyone's not lost. Give me a comment and let me know if this is working for you. Hopefully you're following along and we're making sense. Again, these threads are to spark a conversation that ends with a specific result. So give me a comment and let me know if this is working okay. Wait for it. Make sure I don't lost anybody. Okay, I think we're okay. We're gonna keep on going. Okay. So we have the tools and platforms. Now I'm going to take the next step and say, okay, is there an AI tool that can integrate with Slack? That's what my team uses. So if you use something else like Microsoft Teams or whatever, then you can, put in whatever your specific thing is. But I'm assuming one of the reasons why you want to have a knowledge share is to put it somewhere that people can actually find. So an LMS or a CMS or et cetera. So what we're trying to do is say, okay, now we have this. We know where some of our gaps are. We know the tools we're using. How do we put those together and say, okay, is there a tool that can integrate with Slack or ChatGPT so we can automate some of the information we're creating from ChatGPT or otherwise? And so this one said, okay, there's AI tools you can create to automate this, one of which is obviously Zapier. And you can automate some of these things. By the way, I know that my LMS is not in Zapier, so I have to do a little bit more manually where I take all the responses from the team sharing, and I have to put it in manually. But here's a in theory version of what this is, of saying, okay, you have Zapier, you create a Zap, you have a Slack channel. Let's say, hey, anytime someone uses ChatGPT for their knowledge share, or if they're going in the scenario is this. If we're using ChatGPT as a team, if I help train my team on industry knowledge and they want to share that information with me, how can I make sure the rest of the team is using that to their own benefit, whether they're sharing their outputs from ChatGPT or if they have their own thoughts around what is working, what's not working? How can I automate that knowledge share from the team? And so we create a Zap workflow, and this gives me a breakdown of how I can do that, so that what it does is saying, okay, we're going to take that information from ChatGPT or from Slack, whatever information is in Slack. I'm going to automate it so it goes from there into my CMS or to my LMS so that other people can find it, search it, use it when they need to at the specific times. Hopefully that makes sense. If you guys are commenting, please tell me if this is okay. Sally, let me know if this is making sense. Hopefully I'm not going too fast or skipping things, so I want to make sure everyone's with me. Okay, I thought it was important to include this prompt in let's go here, wait for it, 6, which is making sure we're aware of data privacy or intellectual property laws, because I think having the legal side or making sure we're covered on how information is being shared is kind of one of our key factors as enablement people. And then, so it gave me a bunch of ideas to make sure I know how to make sure I'm, reviewing this or having some sort of verification. Obviously, there's some AI tools that can be shared to help with this. And obviously, there's a human that can also do the same thing, where you can hopefully in your LMS see what's being added or not and see what needs to be used. But most of the time, especially when it comes to general information from ChatGPT, it's pretty accurate and pretty specific. So hopefully this makes sense. All right, give me an idea before I move forward, because I want to make sure I'm not losing anybody. Would you give me a hands up? Give me a yes, no, maybe so, LinkedIn. Let me know how you're doing. I want to make sure we're good. Okay, good. Sorry, I didn't see your comments. You weren't showing up. Okay. Lastly is this one. So finally, I want to have a call to action for the team. So that means that we want to outline the benefits the team members can use. This is a key thing I wanted to make sure you guys knew about, is that sometimes ChatGPT puts out information on, I did see a Sally. I will try to zoom in on the next one if that's okay. Um, Anyways, what I know from ChatGPT is that sometimes it can output language that's robotic and not very human. So I use a thing called Spartan No Business Jargon Tone. That kind of humanizes it a little bit so that the output that's coming out is a little bit more friendly. You'll have to change this to your own tone and your own stuff, but here's the output of what I'm getting. Okay, so here's what's happening is this. So that way I can either take this and post it into an email or into a Slack or to however I communicate with my team so that they can understand, okay, why are we doing this? What are we trying to accomplish? And then what is the result we're expecting and how can you be involved? Right. That way it kind of puts this together. So that's the result, is that this chat is to do two things. One, identify how we can use AI to increase knowledge share. Two is to understand the tools we have and how AI can help those tools. Three is to understand the legal side, make sure we're not saying anything that would be off. And then four, how to automate that so we can take all the information we're creating from either from just people's brains in Slack or from their chat GPT outputs or from whatever AI tool they're using, that we can automate that into our CMS. So therefore, we can use that knowledge in the future when people have the same question or need help with whatever that subject matter might be. So hopefully that helps. We good for that one? Hopefully that makes sense. Give me a yes, no, maybe so. Okay, I don't know where we started, but I'm taking a little bit longer than I wanted to. So I'm gonna keep on rocking here and make sure you guys get all the good stuff. So I'm gonna start from the beginning around content. Okay. This one's a fun one. I want to show you guys this one. There we go. Some of these I might have to do in 2 sections. So give me 2 seconds. I'm gonna do this in 2 sections because LinkedIn, so I can't post it. 2. Okay. Okay, that's part 2. You need prompt 6. Make sure I get this. There we go. Okay. There's part 2. Got it. Okay. So this next one. All right, this next one, we're going to move over to content. Let me get this real fast. Hang on. There I am right there. Okay. So go to the beginning. This one's a very, very basic prompt. So you'll notice the difference between the last one and this one is that the last one I gave some context around who I am, what I'm doing. This one's very simple. It's just saying, hey, I'm about to share some company background. Just reply with this and let's move forward. And I said, great. What's next? In the prompts I gave you, it said, okay, now put in like some key information about your company, like a paragraph, industry served, main business goals, key personas. And so I put that information in for my company. And I said, got it. If you have any specific questions or something you want to discuss further, let me know. Great. So then I put in number 3 right there. Excellent. I need a sales guide for a core product. What are the must-have sections? So please know, you can create, I'm going to stop right here for a second. This sales guide can be changed. I probably should have put this in parentheses, and I will give this to you. I have this in a doc form that like highlights every section you're supposed to fill in or not. But just know that sales guide could be changed to a 1-pager or all that kind of stuff. So just to make sure you know that this can be changed based on what your need is, but I use a sales guide. And then what are the must-have sections that address the pain points of SaaS startups? And then you can also change this or not. I use the AIDA framework. You can use whatever framework you want, but for this example, I want to give a specific one so that you can, see some of the output from it. So it's great. Let's break down this sales guide using this AIDA messaging framework. So it says attention, interest, desire, action. So, and then it gives me specifics on, okay, here's the challenge, here's the solution, and it makes it specific to my company. So then I can say, okay, cool. Now I have a sales guide. I have an idea of how I can apply this framework based on my need for my company. And then now I can take it a step further and say, okay, based on current industry trends, how can I tailor this to resonate with my company is enterprise customers in bakes, techs, PSPs. That's my main customer base are these. without diluting its core message, which you should have that same one. Yep, it did. So then it gives me this. Okay, good. Now we have this enterprise making blah, 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 blah. And it gives me some outputs. And then it also gives me the best answer of like, okay, here's an example of what I could say to each thing based on the AIDA framework. Hopefully this is making sense. Um, by the way, give me a comment and say, yes, I understand, or no, or again, I want to make sure I'm not losing anybody. Okay, and then we go through this AIDA framework, and then I said, I'm going to show you one concept as well in this, is making ChatGPT its own critic, so that instead of you thinking, okay, this needs to be better, but I'm not sure how to make it better, you make ChatGPT the critic, so it gives you a better response. You say, great, you're a harsh critic and expert in this topic. Tell me what critiques you have in the last response. And then you can go move to part 2, which I put in LinkedIn. It says, great. I'm gonna give you some stuff here to make it better. And it gave me some 3 things which I did agree with of how making it better. I said, okay, now can you redo the entire message and then use the suggestions above? I use this all the time to say, okay, critique yourself and make it better and tell me what. Well, there's a lot of times or sometimes, I shouldn't say a lot of times, sometimes. Sorry, it doesn't make any sense. There are times when there are suggestions that I do agree with, or some I didn't think about, and others I'm like, yeah, that's okay. But for the most part, it gives stuff that makes it a little bit more impactful and personal. So that now it gives me a lot more specific results and a little bit more fine tuned that I can now move forward in the process. Okay, so now I have visuals for you visual people. What kind of visual interactive elements, according to experts and List the Expert, are most effective in sales guides? So, 2 things with ChatGPT is that I like to say this phrase a lot, according to experts and List the Expert, because then it forces ChatGPT to look out and say, who's the expert in this and what is the reference, instead of just making it up. I'm sure some of you have heard about how some people make up, I shouldn't say some people, how ChatGPT can lie because it wants you to think it knows the answer. I use this a lot because I want to make sure it's referencing actual people versus just making something up. Most of the time when you're in enablement content, we as professionals know what's accurate, what's not accurate. But again, these are things I like to use just to make sure I know and for my own education of what I can do better. So now it says, okay, great. Here's some of the visuals or elements that we should be including as part of the sales guide, which is infographics, product screenshots, tutorials, video demonstrations, case studies, ROI calculators, walkthroughs, visualizations, comparison charts, interactive Q&A. And they said, great. Can you give me the following? And I'm doing this because, again, I don't know where everyone's skill level is, but I want to make sure I know exactly what it's thinking when it comes to this output. So I said, give me 1 step-by-step guide to create each one, 2 step-by-step guide on how to create the visual components, and that so I could give it to a graphic designer, and then 3, give me a specific script, outline, etc. you'd recommend on each piece using the AIDA framework, and give this to me in a head table format. Those are some key things. I also put this in because sometimes it can say, hey, this is too much information, so I'll give you a summary. I want all of it, so I make it very clear. I want all this information to make sure I can make this happen. And then it spits out this, my infographics of what's happening. So it gives me content recommendations, a visual component, and then hang on, so you go down here, product screenshots. Because it's a lot of information, it's going to go down to number 3. So look, it only went to number 3 here, and so I push continue as needed, which I think I put in your prompt list, which let me confirm that I did. I did. Okay, good. And then it just keeps going and spits out all this information from video demos, what should happen, what should not happen. Gives me a step-by-step guide on how to do a video demo. Gives me a case study step-by-step guide. Gives me the interactive ROI calculators. So anything that it suggests, it can tell me how to actually make it, which is pretty powerful. So I just do the same continue thing until it gives me everything that I'm looking for. So it took me 4 continues to get everything. Then we have the last list. So then I thought to myself, okay, if you're using 3.5, is there a way that we could visualize this without having any plugins or anything else? And the cool thing about ChatGPT is that it can create code from you just typing in English, which is the craziest thing. We could get into that in a second, but it's pretty cool. So there's a system called Mermaid Syntax or mermaid.live. So in your prompt, I think I gave you mermaid.live. And you can use a code in that website, and I'll show you an example here in a second. of what that looked like. So I said, okay, give me this last response, which is for this one, interactive Q&A, in a simplified, summarized version in Mermaid syntax, which is just a code for a mind map. And then I also do the same thing for, hang on, I'm gonna show you this, for a flowchart. I'm gonna show you the flowchart. So give me the same thing. Oh, good. I'm glad you like Mermaid, Sally. That's awesome. Give me the same thing in a flowchart. And this is what it gave me, is a flowchart. So all you do is you literally take this code, copy it says copy right here, and you paste it right in here, and it'll give you this thing. So I know this is not a final version you're going to share with anybody except for probably a graphic designer, but sometimes I find it's good to have a visual of some kind to help you or whoever help you in this process. Mermaid's cool because you can do a ton of different diagrams. You can just copy paste the code in there and give you some, understanding of what's happening. But yeah, that's just one way to use this. You can use this for flow charts, for like sales process, anything that requires any type of like mind map, anything like that. I love this tool to be able to create something and then give this. I can save this or screenshot this or whatever, and then I can send this to my graphic designer of whatever it might be, and say, hey, make me a nicer visual of this, and it makes their job easier because then all I have to do is brand it, make it better, or you can brand it, make it better, and then go from there. I know that 4.0 ChatGPT 4.0 has plugins that do diagrams. So please know, I know there's another way to do this. This is just using 3.5 if you do not have a pro account. All right, we're short on time, so I'm going to zip right through these other ones. So let's go to number 3, which is the data test. Okay. ChatGPT context. Okay, that's it. Let me get to my stuff real fast. I'm going to zip through these last ones. We did. Wait, we're not on this one yet. Hang on. We're on 2. Sorry, we're on training test. Okay. Training. My apologies. Sorry about that. I want to get through this real fast. Let's get to the training. Hopefully, this will let me do this. There we go. Let's see if LinkedIn will let me post this. Nope, it's not going to because it doesn't like me. So. Prompt 6. 5. Wow. Okay, I'm going to do some 2 parts on LinkedIn so you guys can get this. I'm up to prompt 4. Okay, prompt 4 through 8. Give me 1 second. Let's get this in there. Sorry, guys. LinkedIn is being a little dicey. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. All right, so this one's about training. What do we need to do with training? The goal for this is to make sure we can have, again, some output that will give us an idea of how we can better train our teams. So here's what we're talking about. Again, this is starting very, very simple. You can do this advanced, like the first one I showed you, or you can do this simple where you're saying, I'm just going to give you some information about my team and company, and all you have to say is understood. What's next? That should be prompt 1. Then you say, okay, here's my information about my company. Again, value prop, I can grab this from my website. Shouldn't be anything too crazy. And say, okay, got it, blah, 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 blah. What's next? And this is fantastic. What AI-driven methods can create a dynamic learning path tailored to each sales rep's metrics and learning style? Please identify each learning path step by step to apply to each one according to experts and list the experts. You'll see that there's some patterns in my prompting, one of which is list according to experts and list the expert. That's a pattern. Another one is step-by-step method. Sometimes you have to say step-by-step because ChatGPT can give you generalized information and it's not very clear unless you direct it to be. So I want to make sure I know step-by-step and that it's by the expert. So it's not just theory that it's spitting out, but it's actually something. So it then spits out, okay, learning path 1 from this thing by this author. This is what he suggests doing in this fashion. Bam, 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 bam. And I can figure out, okay, do I like that process? Do I not? How can I use this or not? Second one is this, Predictable Revenue by Aaron Ross. Really good read, by the way. And it gives you, okay, here's how I would do it based on this, and gives you usually 2 or 3 outputs of what you can rely on to hopefully have the output you're trying to get. So now we go into, okay, based on the latest trends. Again, please remember 3.5 is limited to September of 2021, but it still should be somewhat accurate based on the information that's using. So please know there's some limitations to this, but it shouldn't be too off because it's only 1.5 2 years almost old. So anyways, I'll move on. So how can we adapt this module? for sales teams, SDRs, AEs, like this can be adjusted to whatever your team is. But I said, okay, give me all of them while incorporating real world challenges specific to my industry, right? So I want to make it specific to me. Great. Here's what I do for SDRs is this. Bam, 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 bam. Here's what I do for AEs, which is this. Here's what I do for sales managers. And then I say, okay, great. I like to take a step further and say, what are the metrics? What do we care about? So the metrics, what can we track in real time to adapt this dynamically? And I like to use this a lot of saying, okay, what's the leading activity-based metrics? That's kind of a way to say, what is the person actually doing? Or what can we track that they actually do? It's activity-based. What are they doing on a daily basis that will show impact for the lagging metric? I like to show that because I want to make sure I'm tracking both what people have a control over and then what the lagging impact would be. So behavioral metrics, which is this, bam, 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 bam. So it gives me an idea of, okay, here's the leading activity base, which is this stuff. Here's the lagging, which is this stuff, obviously important. And then here's for this, what's discovery calls, proposals sent, like what are the things that AEs have control over? And here's the lagging result. For sales managers, what's the leading activity basis, which is this. And here's the lagging metrics. Again, very, very important for you to make sure that you're getting the output you want, but it's all about saying, okay, I personally, I want to know both what the activity base is and what lagging is so I can then apply this real time. All right, next up is this. So this is kind of a long one. Engagement is key. Suggest the best mix of video, text, interactive quizzes to make training more engaging and the specific steps they should take and an outline of each one. So this one's long. Also suggest role play scenarios, mimic common challenges of the above industries and make it specific to each role. So again, this is really, really long, but it gives you some really cool output. So here's right here, video context. Video content, text content, interactive quizzes, makes it specific to SDRs. Same thing with role play, gives me the AEs, video content, interactive quizzes. And lastly is for the sales managers. And then I want to take the next step and say, how do I use ChatGPT for this? How do I use it to analyze and update this training to keep it fresh and up to date? Please give me a step-by-step guide. Again, there's my key, step-by-step guide. So even new people could do the following steps. All right, so here's a guide and here's where I go. So data collection is how you do analytical goals, prepare it for analysis, engage ChatGPT. Again, there's lots of ways to do this, but this is just using 3.5. So we're going to use the very simple way. There's some ways, by the way, to automate this using plugins and other stuff with Google Sheets or Excel, but we'll do this for now. And it just takes you through a step-by-step guide of how to use ChatGPT to get that information. And then lastly, is this the last one? Let's make sure I'm not off my rocker here. Yep, this is the last one. What strategies can we employ to make the training as time efficient as possible without sacrificing quality? And blah, 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 blah. So this one, again, uses this key, according to experts, and list the expert and source. I like doing that over and over to make sure that when I ask for a specific strategy, outcome, or whatever, that it's leaning on an expert, not just its own opinion. So then it gives me this. Okay, here's one strategy, is micro learning and chunking, which most of you probably know about. And then how do you do this? Like implementation is this. So here's the expert, and here's how you actually do it, right? And if you ever wanted to deep dive into this, like, I say in a follow-up saying, ChatGPT, would you please give me a step-by-step guide on strategy 1? And it'll literally take you through and say step 1, step 2, step 3. And you can make it specific and saying, give me a guideline or an outline for a micro learning course that is general, so I can apply it to any tech, which is pretty cool. But it gives you all these specific stuff. So pretty powerful. All right, we're going to zip right through this. Going to keep on rocking. I think we did knowledge share. So data test. So I'm going to go through this real fast. Okay, I'm going to give you data. So I'm going to go like this. Here's part 1. And here's part 2. This is now we're going to go to the data information. There we go. Okay. So this one's all about the goal for this is to figure out, okay, how can we check sales performance using ChatGPT? And this is going to take a very broad look at it and then get really specific as we go. Hang on one second. Let me check something real fast. All right. So we're starting, if you realize we're starting very general, saying here's how we need to proceed, very generally speaking. I did the same thing I did in the other 3 prompts of just saying, here's my paragraph I'm going to use all at the same time. The only thing that's going to be changing is this last sentence. If you notice, this is always the same, but this last sentence is the one thing that changes. It's just like, what's the goal of what we're trying to accomplish? Great. Now I'm going to say, okay, you are a sales data analysis expert. I'm going to feed you KPIs for my team. And hang on, before I show you some of this. The goal is to identify trends in any team, and how, if you understand, say yes. Okay, great. Now I'm not going to show you my team's metrics, but I do want to show you how we can have some stuff going on. In fact, I'm just realizing I may need to skip some of this because, in fact, I am going to skip this because I want to share sensitive information. So hang on one second. I'm going to go to this one. Go to the top. So for the rest of this one, because of time and otherwise, and because there's some sensitive information as far as people's names and other data, I'm not going to share with you the rest of this, but I am going to talk through it. So what I'm saying is, when you get to the prompt, let's see, after you say, hey, you're a sales expert, what data do you share? In fact, let me stop this real fast. I'm going to stop sharing real quick. So on prompt 3, it says you are a data expert. So please say yes if you understand the stuff. Your prompt in prompt 4 should be literally copying and pasting your information for a specific metric of your team from Excel or Google Sheets into ChatGPT. It will understand it, even though it doesn't paste in the Excel thing. It will understand what you're talking about. And you say, okay, great. Based on the results above, and by the way, before I move forward, I used in my example sales velocity for my team and say, okay, analyze the sales velocity for me. But you can use average sale, you can use deal ratio, you can use deal stages, close ratio, literally any KPI you're tracking, you can use, plug it into ChatGPT and have it analyze it for you and tell you what you should do. So now in prompt 5, it says, okay, based on my metrics, can you suggest key activity-based metrics that you should be focusing on for each individual and revenue goals? Please provide a summary of what should be focused on as a team. And then in the second half, let me get there real fast. Prompt 6, visuals are crucial for understanding data. What charts or graphs can you use? And please include a step-by-step guide on how to create these visuals inside of Excel or Google Sheets. I don't know how familiar you all are with Excel or Google Sheets, so I know that it may be harder or easier for whoever is listening to this, but want to make sure you had a guide in case you needed to. And then prompt 7 is about how do we automate the feedback loop to make sure we're staying up to date. Prompt 8 is AI methods can we employ to forecast future trends based on the past. And then again, what I like about prompt 8 is I point out include how we can use ChatGPT for each method. Prompt 9, how can we use this data to make real-time decisions on sales calls or meetings? Any tools or platforms? Like, this is kind of giving more strategic, tactical approach. And then lastly is draft a compelling CTA that encourages the sales team to check these metrics. And if you notice, the tone should be Spartan, non-business jargon, and fun. So the tone can change, but using those 2 words, Spartan and non-business jargon, usually makes it a little bit more humanized versus a robotic output. And that is that. Okay, I think we have one more, and I'm going to wrap it up because we're almost out of time. So that is, we did knowledge, we did that one. Innovation. All right, I'm going to share my screen again so I can show you this. I love when people say share my screen because they go, I'm going to share my screen. I love when people do that. Okay, last one. I'm going to get going here. So this one is on keeping up to date with your new things and innovating. And by the way, if you're still there, please make sure, I don't know who's there or not, because I know we're running later than we originally thought, which is, again, my apologies for the craziness. If you can, give me a comment. Let me know how you are doing, if this makes sense. Am I losing you? I know we're kind of rushed on time. I probably should have taken more time for this, but we're going to get through this real fast. So there we go. And here is the stuff. Here we go. So this one is, okay, if you notice from the 3 prompts, there's 2 that are a little bit more advanced and 3 that are very simple. This one's more advanced, saying, okay, I'm describing who the AI is. I give information about my company and I say the goal. I say your role is to, help me with innovation and calculated risk taking. And I say, I give instructions. I need you to help me with this for my enablement team, for me specifically, so I can employ to take my company to the next level. And all you do is understand or say, reply with understood what's next, and we can proceed. That's it. So I can make sure I'm not missing anybody's comments. Yeah, Sally, I know it's fast. I know it's a lot, but this is really good. Hopefully good stuff for you. So great. Understood what's next. And very simply, what AI-driven analytics can identify areas within our enablement program, specifically where innovation is currently lacking, and what metrics should we look at? So it gives me a bunch of stuff like, here's all the stuff we should maybe consider or look at, and analytics or analysis. So it's specific to me and my company and my team. I look at metrics. Okay, how do I measure metrics in my company so I know if I'm succeeding or not succeeding, or at least helping to go around the path of being innovative? So based on these gaps, what are some proven innovative practices that are a company profile? And I also put a thing here saying, keep in mind we're a small team with limited budget. I say this because it's not that we have a limited budget, because we actually don't. But I'm saying this to ChatGPT so it doesn't suggest a tool like, sometimes it'll say Salesforce Einstein, which is really expensive, and I may or may not have procurement cleared, budget approved for that. So I put this in the chat so ChatGPT gives me specific inexpensive or limited budget so I could perform these actions without having to buy a super expensive software. So please know it's not because we can't do it. It's because I want to know what is something that I could use for myself personally on my team that doesn't require a huge, massive, approval process. So then it gives me this very, very specific stuff, which I absolutely love some of the content here. I said, okay, what's next? Risk taking is essential. What algorithms or models can we simulate for potential outcomes? And keep in mind, I want you to dumb this down and make it easy to step by step. So again, a couple things that to be aware of. Again, a pattern you'll see is step by step. I say that all the time, step by step. And then I say things like this, like dumb it down, because sometimes if I put dumb it down and step by step, it makes it super clear in the instructions. Otherwise, this assumes you know more than you do, or it's not clear and it's in its instruction. Can't talk. So it gives me this, how to apply, how to use ChatGPT. Oh, sorry, I missed that part too. Include how to use ChatGPT for each model and suggested prompt, which is that what it gives me. How to use it. Here's my prompt. Same thing, decision trees. Here's my prompt. Same thing. I want to know, how do I actually do this? Next up is, what real-time analytics can we use to measure the immediate impact of our practices within our program? And keep in mind, the goal is to both identify key activity-based KPIs as lagging goals like revenue growth. Okay, so this is it's pretty powerful. And again, I always want to say, what's the activity base and what's the lagging goals? So then it gives me this, which is pretty powerful, of all the stuff in here. And then there were 3 tools, and I said, okay, give me the tools that will facilitate innovation and brainstorming and robust analytics, specifically for enablement teams, and how also can I use ChatGPT if I cannot get those tools? How else can I do this? And then it gives me some specific tools, and it gives me how to use it gives me the tools with ChatGPT, and I can make this either specific for the tool or for ChatGPT without the tool. You can do both ways, but it gives me all this good stuff. And then lastly, how can AI tailor this innovation brainstorming sessions based on enablement team past contributions and skill sets? Gives me all of this, which is really, really powerful. And then lastly, how can we ensure innovative practices within our enablement program are ethically sound and comply with industry regulations in our industry? I like including this because you have to be aware and have to make sure that ChatGPT is quote unquote trained on what it should be including or not with industry regulations or with ethical, legal stuff or that kind of stuff. You want to make sure you're just careful with that. So it gives me all of this. And then lastly is, finally, I like doing CTAs. Draft a CTA that only encourages participation, but also outlines the tangible benefits the team members will get with a step-by-step guide on how the reader can do what is being announced. And again, you'll see this pattern, step-by-step guide, and then use business, no jargon tone, and add some flavor and fun. So this, again, makes it more humanized, which gives me this. I will edit this, but this gets me like 80, 90% there. So there you go. Gives you the output. All right, I had one more thing to show you. This is one of the other outputs I had, which was, oh, this is one of my things that I used with the code like of the knowledge share. This is a knowledge share flow of saying, okay, here's my flow I want to use with knowledge share, which is this is what I would send to the team and help them know, okay, here's a visual of what we're trying to do for my knowledge share, and it makes it specific to my output from the knowledge share thing. I just want to make sure I go back to that. All right, my friends, I'm going to keep going and we're going to wrap up because I've got to go. I'm sure you guys do too. I'm going to skip this. Quick announcement. AI powered enablement is what I think is the next level as far as sales or revenue enablement. And I've found a lot of content that is AI specific or sales specific, but not a lot that is AI specific, which is why I am doing this. Um, I'm passionate about how do you become AI powered with people, with process, and then your results. The whole goal is to become AI powered as an enablement individual so you can become pretty I should say pretty. You should become dangerous with AI powered so you can get more done in less time with less money and really become an asset to the team. And not that you're not before already, but this will make it very obvious you're making some impact. So for me, I've been tracking some things. This is a model, but I've been using this is kind of like an analysis model for coding. But the same thing happens with enablement people where AI takes it so you're doing things from weeks to hours. So you can get so much more done in less time. I don't know if you guys have played with this, but I have. And there's some pretty powerful things you can do with AI. But I wanted to show this visual because it literally takes you from doing weeks and weeks and weeks of work to hours. Um, this is what I'm seeing before. I know a lot of people are freaked out and about AI. I saw this on I think Twitter or somewhere, but it says here's the people talking about AI. Here's the people actually using AI. Here's the people applying it to the roles, and here's who's actually doing the roles better, faster, and cheaper. So I believe that most people, and I don't know this for enablement because I think we're probably the exception, but for most roles, most people are talking about it. They have some clue about it, but they're not using it to really make it impactful, which is what I'm very, very passionate about is to how do we change that. So as of today, I'm going to announce I am doing what's called the GTM AI Academy, launching next week on September 4th. This is both a community and a course and learning environment for you guys to be able to, or anybody, I should say, to come in and to learn. This is GTM because it's meant for the entire GTM team, but I am starting with enablement. So the first course we'll be doing is enablement. If you guys are wanting to know this or be involved with it, please let me know. I'll put in a link here in a second so you can join the wait list if you so choose to do so. Still choose to do so. But I'd love to have you guys involved. If you want to be involved with me in this, I'm going to have a blast with this. I'm really excited for it. And this is if you want to scan this with your phone, you can scan this. It'll take you to the waiting list as well as give you all these prompts in a document format. Again, if you have problems with this or you don't want to join the waiting list, I'm totally fine with sending you this doc because you attended, just to send it to you. So please know, happy to do this. I want to make sure this was something you guys could access and use in the future. Please let me know. I know I zip right through this because of technical problems. And so if I spoke fast or something, please know I'm so sorry. But I appreciate your patience. And let me know if you have any questions. And I'm really excited. I would love to know if this helped you. Give me some feedback. Let me understand what's happening. And yeah, we'll go from there. Thank you all so much. We'll talk to you soon.